The Ekiti State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Olawale Fakbonda, has instituted a lawsuit against Inspector General of Police Adamu Mohammed over the dismissal of a pregnant police woman. The dismissed officer, Olajide Omolola, attached to Ekiti Station, was said to have gotten pregnant unmarried. The State Commissioner of Police, Babatunde Mobayo, says the policewoman contravened Section 127 of the Police Regulation, which recommends punitive measures. He says Section 127 of the Police Act and Regulations provides that an unmarried woman police officer who becomes pregnant shall be discharged from the force and shall not be re-enlisted except with the approval of the Inspector General. The Attorney General in the suit filed at the Federal High Court at Ekiti seeks an order of court declaring Section 127 of the Police Act and Regulations, which provides for the discharge of pregnant, unmarried police officers, unconstitutional. According to a statement by the Special Assistant to the State Attorney General on Media, Olalekan Suleiman, Ekiti State Commissioner of Police and the Police Service Commission are joined as co-defendants in the suit. It adds that the Attorney General has also written to the IGP offering the support of the State Ministry of Justice in conducting a gender audit of the Police Act and Regulations. Now let's bring in the Attorney General, Ekiti State, Olawale Fakbonda, for more insight on this development. Good evening, Attorney General. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, is there more to this than meets the eye? Are there more reasons this young unmarried woman who has gotten pregnant is being asked to leave the force?
Well, no, I think it's important to give a background. First, the suit that we instituted is in response to the petitions that was received by the governor of Ekiti State with respect to this woman police officer. A number of our people don't understand that in practical terms, a governor of a state does not have powers of appointment or dismissal of police officers. Anyway, we looked at the complaints, the petitions we received. We invited the police woman, and we found that the complaints were genuine. Before now, the government of Ekiti State, as part of its contribution to the ongoing conversation around police reform, has already put together a memorandum that looks at these several provisions of the police regulations, which in our view is unconstitutional. And I could just quickly go through a number. For example, Section 118 of the police regulations provides that an unmarried woman will not be enlisted into the police force. So I don't know how Nigerians know that if you are married, you will not be enlisted in the police force. We find that discriminatory. Section 124. Thankfully, that has been struck down now. That is the provision that says that if you want to get married, you need the permission of the police. So this Section 127 on the issue of, you cannot be pregnant while in service. You cannot be pregnant or married while in service. We thought that it's totally unconstitutional. So, based on what we have, we think that it provides a good opportunity for us to approach the courts to get, a clarification on this issue. So that's just about it.
Speaking of which, can you cite any precedent that will give us further insight into this peculiar case? Granted that in 2021, that section of the law in the Police Act still exists, that if you're a married woman, you cannot get pregnant in the force. So are there any cases that could give us a background into perhaps how it was handled in the past and how this can be dispensed with? This case of Olajide Omolola.
Well, no, you see, that is the problem. Before now, I think the only case that came to light, and I'm sure it probably happens, it's been happening, but the only case that has come to light was the one I cited with respect to the need for a policewoman to get permission before she gets married. I think that is the closest that we have in terms of these police regulations being challenged. And thankfully, the Federal High Court in that case aside that particular provision, I believe Section 124 of the police regulation. So there is no precedence on this, which is why we think that it's important that we look at it and see what the court, let the court have a say on this. In fact, if you look at the various provisions that with women enlistment in the force, you'll be tempted to get the impression that the police really don't want women in their rank, which is why we think that going to court is one of the steps. The governor of Ekiti State, as chairperson of the Governors Forum, also sits on, and so we hope that he will be able to take this forward within the police council. We are going to go on with our engagement with the National Assembly to ensuring that when the conversation around police reform is taking place, these issues are brought to the fore. And I have to add that, wife of the governor, who is very knowledgeable in this matter, has also offered to facilitate a conversation with the police force with respect to ensuring that the gender audit of the entire police regulation. Certainly, it is our view that it cannot be the intention of the Nigerian police force to keep women out of the force.
Interesting, interesting. I wonder if there are other unmarried and pregnant young women in the police force in other parts of the country. We hope that, of course, this case will, unfold in the coming days. We thank you, Attorney General Ekiti State, Mr. Olawale Fakponda, for providing insight into this developing story. Thank you very much for your time on TVC News at 10.